Fred, tell me Chapter 3, Rama-Lakshmana, Fatalism or Pragmatism.
Eastern thought is sometimes deemed fatalistic, as holding that everything is predetermined by our past actions and thus leaving little room for human initiative. While Indian literature is filled with diverse thoughts, some of which may be fatalistic, the Bhakti literature, which is among the most influential Indian literature, offers a far more nuanced and empowering outlook to life. Ancient echoes of modern concerns. The Ramayana features an emotionally and intellectually riveting conversation about the interplay of destiny and human initiative. This conversation occurred at one of the epic's defining moments when Rama, who was about to be crowned as Prince Regent, was instead sentenced to forest exile for 14 years. While Lakshmana was outraged by the injustice of Rama's exile, Rama calmly responded that he considered his exile the will of destiny and so intended to accept it. If some of us find Rama's deference to destiny too docile, we may be intrigued to know that so did Lakshmana. Rather than ascribe Rama's exile to destiny, he sought to lay the blame on the human actors involved, Kaikeyi's scheming and, more importantly, the king's complicity. He alleged that the king had become infatuated with his beautiful wife and so had abandoned his duty to protect his own son. To Rama's deference to destiny, the incensed Lakshmana countered that only the impotent accepted injustice passively as the will of destiny. The strong fought injustice to protect their rights, and the kingdom was Rama's right. Lakshmana's arguments may make us feel that his is an intriguingly modern voice railing against the fatalism prevailing in those times, seeing through the stereotype of fatalism. Significantly, Rama was not fatalistic, as was evident from his dynamic response to other adversities such as the abduction of his wife, Sita. He didn't passively accept her abduction as an act of destiny. When she was abducted, he had no guards, servants, or royal resources for finding her. He could well have seen his destitute condition as the arrangement of destiny and passively accepted Sita's abduction. But the thought of such passivity didn't even cross his mind. To the contrary, he always discharged his duty of protecting her actively, even proactively. Throughout their stay in the forest, he always ensured that either he or his brother were at hand to protect Sita. And the moment he discovered that she was missing and found signs of a scuffle that pointed to her abduction, he immediately started searching for her. To rescue her, he formed an unlikely alliance with monkey forces, marched hundreds of miles through difficult terrain, and fought against a formidable foe who had bested even the gods. If Rama responded to Sita's abdication so resourcefully, even forcefully, then why did he accept his own exile so passively? If he didn't ascribe Sita's abduction to destiny, why did he ascribe his own banishment to destiny? Because the defining decider of his responses was the consideration of not destiny, but duty. For Rama as a husband, the protection of his wife was his prime duty, and he didn't even consider abandoning that duty in the name of destiny, no matter how difficult that duty was. For Rama as a son, obedience to his father was his prime duty, a duty he did even if it required renouncing his right to the kingdom. So, the Ramayana's message is not that we passively give in to destiny, but that we gallantly stick to duty. And if, in the course of duty, some inconceivable calamity strikes, we can attribute it to destiny, and continue to do our duty. An agrarian analogy can illumine this point. For farmers, ploughing the field is the duty, whereas the occurrence of timely rains is destiny. Both are needed for a good harvest. Destiny determines whether the ploughing will yield harvest, but it doesn't determine whether the farmers plough or not. If they don't plough, then even if the destiny is favorable, rains will cause the growth of weeds, not crops. Significantly, this understanding of the dynamics of duty and destiny is empowering. It offers impetus to do duty even when destiny is unfavorable. Though the farmers may get no harvest when destiny is unfavorable, still their diligent performance of duty will create positive karmic credits that will contribute to their benign future destiny. After all, our destiny is formed not by some unknown arbitrary force, but by our own actions. The accumulated karmic reactions to our past actions in this and previous lives comprise our present destiny. Just as our present destiny is shaped by our past actions, our future destiny is shaped by our present actions. So, our doing our duty in the present, even when it doesn't produce any result immediately, doesn't go in vain. It comprises good karma and thereby contributes to the congenial destiny that will bring good results in future. Duty comprises the best response to destiny. While the relationship between free will and destiny is complex, it can be summed in this broad principle: what happens to us is destiny, how we respond to it is our free will. And we can choose the best response by sticking to our duty. Here it's important to note the different connotations of the word, duty. Nowadays, the word is often used in the sense of a burden, something that one is expected to do or something that has to be done. So if someone exhibits stellar qualities and does something extraordinary, we laud it as going beyond the call of duty. In the Bhakti tradition, duty is often the translation of the Sanskrit concept of dharma, which refers to activities that help us achieve our latent potential. By acting according to Dharma, we help bring out the best within us, our godly, spiritual side. Doing one's duty, in this sense, is not about stoically carrying a burden allotted by externals, but about resourcefully bringing out one's inner potential by making scripturally guided choices, continuing with this burden-free connotation of duty. The highest duty, the paradharma, is that of pure love, Kevala Bhakti. The various interactions among the Ramayana characters can at one level be seen as reciprocations of such spiritual love. But at another level, for our own edification, their actions can be seen as demonstrating principles for choosing the right course of action. When seen in this edificatory sense, the Ramayana demonstrates not resignation to destiny, but dedication to duty, best means of using our free will. As Theto further understand how destiny relates with free will, consider, as an analogy, a card game. Destiny determines the hand we get, but we determine how we use it. Claiming that there's no such thing as destiny is like claiming that we have full control over the hand we get, patently untrue. In the game of life, we all get different hands, we are all born with different sets of talents and resources, and throughout our life we face different challenges. Duty as understood in the sense of Dharma enables us to make the best use of this hand. For Rama, as an obedient son, his duty was to serve his father. He would normally have done so by accepting the post of prince regent and eventually of the king. But when extraordinary circumstances conspired to have him banished, he stuck to his duty, albeit in a drastically different form, not as a prince, but as an ascetic. And he attributed those extraordinary factors that changed his circumstances to destiny. Inconceivable, inexorable destiny had moved his stepmother to express such uncharacteristic greed for power. Rama rejected Lakshmana's call for rebellion not because he was fatalistic and feeble, but because he was resourceful and courageous enough to do his duty even when it was exceptionally difficult. To Lakshmana's charge about the king's motivation, Rama pointed out that their father had acted not because of infatuation but because of obligation. He had long ago promised Kaikeyi 2 boons, and was honor-bound to grant them, even when doing so caused him heartbreaking agony. Rama stressed that the king's readiness to keep his word demonstrated not his weakness but his truthfulness. Rights don't trump responsibilities. Rama's refusal to seize his right to the kingdom by sacrificing his responsibility as a son is instructive. Though something may be our right, it may not always be right for us to claim it. Considerations of our rights need to be balanced with deliberations on our responsibilities. We live in a culture that frequently champions rights and downplays responsibilities. Parents often find it extremely difficult to raise children who feel that they are entitled to things without feeling that they need to do anything to get them. John F. Kennedy's exhortation, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," was a call to shift the focus from rights to responsibilities. Such a shift comes much easier when we have a spiritual conception of life, when we understand ourselves to be souls, and see life from a multi-life perspective wherein results for dutifulness are, even if not in this life, guaranteed. When we are faced with problems, we can deal with them better if we approach them with a positive attitude, focusing, for example, on how the glass is half full, not half empty. Illustrating how spiritual wisdom engenders positive outlook, Rama responded to his banishment by stating that he didn't see any cause for distress. He had the satisfaction of ensuring that his father's word is honored. He had the joy of facilitating the enthronement of his younger brother, who was like a son to him, and he had the opportunity for spiritual growth by the association of sages in the forest, an opportunity that he would otherwise have got only towards the end of his life when he retired to the forest. Thus, Rama's spiritual vision grants him extraordinary positivity. He accepts the adversity of banishment not with hand-wringing and teeth-grinding, but with dignity and determination, looking to make the best of the situation. That Rama ascribed the adversity that befell him to destiny is significant because he, being God himself, is the Lord of destiny. But he had descended as an avatar not so much to demonstrate his supremacy as to demonstrate the life of an ideal human being. And he did so by exemplifying how to respond to adversity with maturity. If we focus too much on our rights, we may end up beating our head against a wall, trying in vain to get things which we think are our right but which have been taken away by unchangeable circumstances by the will of destiny. On the other hand, if we focus too much on destiny, we may end up doing nothing at all, thereby depriving ourselves of our authentic rights and letting the world walk all over us. Acceptance of destiny is not a recipe for sentencing oneself to weakness and helplessness. It is the pathway for the most constructive channeling of our energies. To conclude, the Bhakti literature teaches not fatalism but pragmatism, the sound practical intelligence that refuses to buy the lie that everything is in our control. By remembering that there is much we cannot control, pragmatism urges us to focus our energy on those things that we can control. Nowadays many people suffer from depression, inferiority complex, and suicidal urges. A major reason for such psychological problems is an underlying misconception about controllership. People are led to believe that they can control everything, and when they can't control things, they think that something is intrinsically wrong with them and sink into self-flagellating thought patterns. That's why a proper understanding of destiny can be salutary. It can prevent dissipation of our energy in fruitless fantasies or lamentations, and can channelize it towards growth-inducing choices. What do we do when a promise we have given comes back to strangle us? What do we do when a loved one whom we have implicitly trusted acts like our worst enemy? What do we do when, at the very moment our dearest dreams are meant to come true, they turn into nightmares? The Ramayana narrates how these questions confronted Dashratha, the reigning monarch of Ayodhya, when his plans for succession were disastrously derailed. The devastating demon Kaikeyi was a heroic wife worthy of a great king. She had saved her husband's life. Once, when the king was engaged in a deadly war with demonic forces, his charioteer was slain and he himself was knocked unconscious. With fearless presence of mind, Kaikeyi grabbed the reins and steered his chariot to safety. Feeling astounded and indebted, he gave her 2 boons, promising that he would provide whatever she desired. Being incited by Manthara, Kaikeyi decided to use those boons to fulfill her designs. When Dashratha approached her that night, she placed herself in a disheveled condition in the sulking chamber. Concerned at what was afflicting his favorite wife, the king got carried away by his desire to pacify her. Not knowing what Kaikeyi was going to ask and being elated at the upcoming elevation of his dear son, Rama, he unwittingly promised to fulfill her request, and promised thrice in the name of Rama. Little did he know that he was like an ignorant animal entering a fatal trap. Kaikeyi asked that Rama be banished to the forest for 14 years and in his place, Bharata be installed as the prince regent. On hearing Kaikeyi's demands, he was stunned, shocked, shattered. Not even in his wildest dreams had he thought that she would ask for something like this. Desperately, he begged her to relent, even falling at her feet. But Kaikeyi's heart had turned to stone. The next morning, she summoned Rama and informed him that the king had ordered that he be banished.
Wow, Fred, that was an amazing explanation. Bye, Fred.
By John.